We're in danger of getting a little bit too used to this. The Billikens with another impressive win, this time again in conference. They take down the Salle Explorers. They improve to 15-1, and they go 2-1 on this first real road trip of the season. I'm Matthew Rocchio. That is Eric Sontag, and we are brought here by our good friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours, and our good friends at Home Bank, myhomebank.bank. I want to tell you all about one of our sponsors. That is, of course, My Home Banking. You guys need to check them out right now. Banking, so important. Of course, this Postgame brought to you by our banking partners. Home Bank has been with us since day one as a trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. That's Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank, they're your business partner. We'll get into a little bit more business, but Eric Sontag, I got to hear your opening thoughts on another Billikens double-digit victory.
Yeah, I mean, this game was going to be a test of the Billikens' maturity for sure. They had this super intense game in a hostile environment at VCU. And then you go to LaSalle for a game, you're supposed to win it easily, a bad team, barely any fans watching it. So, the letdown potential was there. And, it was not great early on. This game just felt like there was no flow. Billikens were giving up way too many offensive rebounds in the first half. They weren't hitting many shots. But the thing that won the game at VCU that carried over to at least the first half tonight was the defense. Yep. And part of that is LaSalle just not being a very good offensive team. But SLU in the first half was holding them at bay. And then all of a sudden, they start getting some turnovers. The shots started falling for that spurt, and it was lights out. It was a 20-point game at half in a blink of an eye. And just this team is just so dangerous because they do so many things well that if one aspect of their game is off, they'll just beat you in another way. And when they have it all cooking in spurts like they did at the end of the first half, there's nobody in the conference that can touch them. The game, it got loose in the second half. The defensive intensity certainly dropped. I'm sure Schertz is going to get after their asses on that. But, I think that's human nature. The game was essentially over. But overall, happy with the performance. Now 15-1 on the season. You just got to love this.
Yeah, it was an extremely impressive day overall. I mean, just some things you can highlight. 22 assists on 29 made shots. For a while there, their assist to turnover ratio was sitting at a pretty clean 2-1. At one point, it was 18 assists to 9 turnovers. They finished, though, at 22-14. So, like you said, they got a little bit loose. The one thing you can continue to highlight in the defense, 2 of 15 from behind the arc for the LaSalle Explorers. They were crashing the line. They were pushing shooters off. And they got a little lazy, not lazy, just they got a little sloppy at times behind the initial line of defense, the help defense, the rotation on the backside and things like that. That's really where SLU started to get a little bit sloppy. Guys weren't keeping up with their tagging. There was just a little bit of less help coming out. So they were doing a good job on playing the perimeter, but as soon as LaSalle put their head down and got inside, it wasn't the tightness you saw in that first half. The split there being they allowed 24% from the field for LaSalle in the first half. And even with shooting terribly from behind the arc in the second half, LaSalle still shoots 57% in the second half. It's the only reason the game got as close as it was. But if at any point the Explorers hit some three-pointers in this game, could have been a little different. And free throws. I mean, you also got to look at the charity stripe. LaSalle goes 39 times. They missed 13. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah, a lot of foul trouble in this game for the Billikens. Too many free throws given up. And LaSalle, they're just not a good offensive team. I don't think they're very well coached. The quality of shots they take is just not. It doesn't lend itself to efficiency.
All new players too. You got to remember that. There's not a lot of cohesiveness. Yeah. You can't really blame a coaching staff when it has an entirely new roster like that.
Yeah, and I had a feeling this regression was coming from them today, where they were going to have a bad game because they had a really good effort midweek with a road win at Rhode Island, where they really shot the lights out. And this is not a good shooting team. They're dead last in the conference in points per game. They don't shoot a lot of threes, and you saw it today where they shoot 15 and they only make 2 of them. So the Billikens were definitely helped out by the fact that just LaSalle is not a good offensive team. But just overall, with the Billikens, they're so good they can just have one really good spurt. And I think they only really played well today for about an 8 to 10 minute stretch there in the second part of the first half. And like I said, just lights out, and that's all it takes with a team that has so much spurt ability like this.
We've talked about it a lot the last couple games, kill shots. When you go on a 10-0 run, the Billikens had another one in this game. It was late in the first half, and that's a great time to have it. From 4.5 minutes left to about a minute and a half left, Billikens go on a 10-0 run. They finish the half on a 15-2 run, and that really is the entire difference in the game. Your leading scorer tonight, by the way, Robby Avila, the second time this season he's been the leading scorer, 18, 6, 4, also 2 blocks and just 1 turnover to go with those 4 assists for Robby Avila. Really was the consistent game. We haven't seen a lot of full 30-minute games for Avila. He hasn't had to play 30 minutes this game, but he leads the Billikens tonight in minutes, leads them in points, ties the lead in rebounds, and also the only player to log a block in this game, and he gets 2 of them. Really good game from Robby Avila overall.
Yeah, good response from him because VCU is a tough matchup for him. Any of those teams that are big, huge, and physical, he's just not going to be as effective.
Well, the VCU things too, because it's crazy. Djokovic is so good on VCU that they had to actually put Robby on a slightly smaller player than Djokovic, and he did a good job actually playing against him. But Bell's a tricky matchup for him. So yeah, this was a very different game for him.
Yeah, and just much more efficient today. 7 of 10 from the field. It's just the offense funnels. It funnels through him, and it looks so good when he's out there. And just the second player that really stood out to me, and I mean, he's second on the team in points today, but Brady Dunlap, again, just continues this fantastic run that he's on. Double figures now in 5 of the last 6 games. He finishes with 17 points, 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 7 from the three-point line. I think part of the problem with him early in the season, he just wasn't healthy. I think he was banged up and still fighting through some things. And now he has really found his role in this team. And that was another thing that the game was it was flat early on, offensively, where the Billikens just didn't have much flow going on. And then Dunlap and that second line comes in. They have the line change. I had a note that LaSalle was actually on a 7-0 run at that point. It was a 10-9 game. It's 10-9 game at that time. And then Dunlap comes in, with some of his other teammates. SLU has a possession where they miss a couple threes on the same possession, but they got a couple offensive rebounds. And the third time was the charm on that possession because they kicked it to Brady Dunlap in the corner. He knocks down a 3 that puts the Billikens up 4. And, at that point, the Billikens never trailed in this entire game. So I thought that was kind of a big moment early on, just to don't let LaSalle start believing that they could hang with this team. And that was a huge possession where the Billikens just stuck with it until they could score.
Wow, this is impressive. You mentioned those now 5 out of the last 6 games that Brady Dunlap has been in double figures, and doing a quick check on that. So we start with the Bethune-Cookman game through New Hampshire, Principia, St. Joseph's, VCU, and now LaSalle. And we have 12-18, which was his SLU high and too short of his career high, 11-10-4, and then the 17 tonight. But here's the big thing I want to highlight is across those 6 games for Brady Dunlap, and of course the one game he didn't hit in double figures was VCU. He went 1 for 5 and 0 for 2 from the field. But even with that, he has hit 16 of 28 from deep in this 6-game run. That's 57%, again, on 28 attempts across those 6 games. He's absolutely been killing it from deep. Love that we were able to bring up Brady. We're getting here some chats. If you guys have any comments, have any questions, whatever you want about this Billikens side, put it in the chat and we'll get to it today. No time limit on today's postgame, by the way, but we will go about 25, 30 minutes, depending on how much you guys want us to go. Corey Land, not a great win, but no road game is ever easy in conference play. Should be a top 25 team come Monday, but most importantly, tourney odds keep going up. Yeah, they're 24th or 25th ranked, I think, this next week. They went 2-0 like they should have on the break, and it's a good roll right now for the Billikens, no doubt. But yeah, I think Schertz is going to have some interesting comments in the postgame.
Yeah, today they did what they were supposed to do. They didn't cover, but they were just right around the spread, which is what you want to do in the metrics. I did look during the game, and SLU was 34, and KenPom, I just refreshed it. They are still 34, and it has been refreshed, showing them as 15-1. So basically, they did what they were supposed to do today to stay where they're at in the metrics. They're 24 in the net. I got to think they're going to be, in the mid-20s still when that gets refreshed tomorrow. Again, it's just kind of another game off the schedule. Take care of business. Now you come home and hopefully run it up on a couple teams next week.
Samuel Howe says, "Oh, but for that one, if they were undefeated, we'd be talking about them like all the other undefeated teams." I don't really know. I don't think so. I don't think they'd be. I don't think they even would be close to ranked where Nebraska and Vanderbilt are right now, who are right now the lowest ranked undefeated teams. I know there's a couple other undefeated teams in college basketball right now. I'm blanking on the is Miami, Ohio undefeated? Is that it?
I believe so.
Miami, Ohio, I think might be undefeated this year. And there's a good chance they're in the spot as well. Of course, I went to football on accident. My apologies.
Yeah, Miami is 14-0.
Yeah, so Miami, Ohio's 14-0.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that they're 24 and the Billikens are 25 when the rankings come out. That would be my guess right now. So if they were 16-0, I think they'd be ranked. But it would probably still be around. It'd probably still be behind 10-4 Kansas at like 23. If I had to guess right now, if they were 16-0, that would be my guess. But I don't know. They maybe would have been ranked before the VCU game. But yeah, then it still would have been re-ranked. So yeah, I think this week they probably would have been on like 21 or 22. So a little bit of a difference. You know, everyone's now looking at that Stanford game, and it hasn't moved at all. In fact, their LMU match I think actually has gone from a Q2 to a Q3. So there is some net stuff that has actually gotten worse for the Billikens since that run. But I mean, yeah, the game happened. They're doing everything in their power right now to put it in the rearview mirror, and that's all they really can do.
Yeah, and you also got to think of it this way: like if the Stanford game goes the other way, they're undefeated, and there's more pressure on the team where they're feeling it. Maybe they don't come back at VCU. Those games could go completely different if it's a different vibe, but they're kind of feeling this weight of being undefeated. And also, you got it. Let's be honest with ourselves: the Santa Clara game could have easily went the other way, where they lose that. So I do think that it is like, yes, it was a one-off miracle shot what Stanford did to win that game. But overall, I think being 15-1 is a very fair representation of where they should be at this point.
We almost forgot. We got to talk about our money moment of the game presented by our friends at HomeBank. Again, check them out at HomeBank, the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank. Call 855-577-2001. I don't know about you, Eric Sontag, but this one for me has got to go again to Kellen Thames. It was an unbelievable play. He's making plays already in the game. The Billikens are have a nice little solid. I think at this point it was a 17-point lead, but nonetheless, Kellen Thames cuts off a pass that was going to the left wing, stabs in front of it, gets his hand on it. The ball's almost going out of bounds. He dives for it, airborne, goes between the legs to save the ball from the out of bounds, bounce pass to Quentin Jones, who then has enough momentum to beat the LaSalle defenders for another bucket and extends the Billikens lead in the first half. That's my money moment of the game because Kellen Thames just keeps doing things on basketball courts that I've never seen.
Dude is just such a sick athlete. It's unbelievable. You could just tell he's really enjoying himself this week in particular with these two games, especially the VCU game, just with the competition being with all those athletes out there. Really good floor game for him. 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 21 minutes of play. Yeah, that was during that run late in the first half where they were really starting to pull away. And really kind of my money moment that stood out. It was about 5 minutes left in the first half. I noted SLU was up by 5 at the time. It was 25-20. At that point, the game was still stagnant. And then all of a sudden, Kellen Thames, he got a pass in transition. He attacked and laid it in. And then on the other end, Deion Brown was very quiet today with just 2 points, but I thought this was a big 2 points. He came up with a steal where he just ripped the ball away from some dude and took it down and dunked it. It put SLU up 9. LaSalle called the timeout, and really SLU got going after that. The 15-2 run happened right after that, and where they lead by 20 at the half. Yeah.
Deion Brown's defense in the first half was fantastic. I mean, everyone's defense. I mean, Amari McCautry, that's probably the next player we need to talk about. Before we do, though, Eddie Pavicic says Kellen Thames is one of the most electric players in the country. When I first read it, I thought it was going to say athletic. Either way, correct from Eddie there. He's absolutely unbelievable. If he was able to play a full 30, he would be a name that every college basketball fan would know this year. Samuel, how can we get a breakdown of SLU's NIL money? Not having football can be a blessing if you got big donors. Okay, so we don't know the exact numbers. We can go off reports and things that are kind of bandied about at times. What I know is Robby Avila obviously is the Billikens' highest paid player by far. I'm guessing it's somewhere over $1 million. The next highest paid player, might surprise some people, is Trey Green. That's what happens when you get a guy coming down from Xavier. And that's probably a bigger number than what some people would expect. After that, I don't have 100% confidence on what the salary ranking would be. Something tells me there's a big drop from Trey to a guy like Paul in the portal. And then after that, there's probably a lot of guys making similar amounts. The bottom line is I'm guessing we're looking at about $3 or $4 million, maybe a little bit more being spent on the totality of the roster. To your point, not having football can be a blessing if you got big donors. Billikens obviously have at least one big donor. The guy just bought into the freaking Giants ownership. If you guys didn't see it, Richard Chaffetz now a part of the San Francisco Giants ownership. So clearly they do have some big donors. The O'Loughlin family built that entire new extension onto the athletic complex. They have big donors, but those big donors have obviously put up big money because they play in Chaffetz Arena. So they've put up a lot of big money. So how much more are they going to put up? I don't know. But right now in this conference, I don't think they're really worried about money. Samuel Howe also says they need a better conference, though. Interesting point there. If you just want a little context, because I had this conversation on Twitter earlier today. Someone says, they got to be talking to the Big East. Look at Creighton. Look at what Creighton did in the 15 years in the MVC before they went to the Big East. From 1999 through like 2010, they went to the tournament 7 out of 9 years. And their last 2 years in the MVC, they had 28 and 29 wins and 2 more tournament runs. If you want to be a better conference, you have to put together not just a year and a half of positive basketball. And honestly, right now we're looking at literally a half year of actually high level basketball. Let's pump the brakes. Let's see if this can build into something that's a consistent year to year product.
I've had a very similar conversation with some friends of mine recently about that. Like, we got to get in the Big East, You're right. One good season doesn't get it done. And like you said, we're just at half a season. This is going to take a 2 to 3 year run. I do think that the market that St. Louis makes a lot of sense for that conference. And they're at 11 teams right now. If SLU can put together a 2 to 3 year run of high level basketball like this, I think would make a lot of sense for the Big East to go to 14, and you pull VCU and Dayton and SLU out of the A10 potentially. Maybe you go Dayton and SLU and maybe Memphis out of the America. I know Memphis is having a down year in basketball, but I do think it makes a lot of sense for the Big East to go to 14 eventually. And if they do, the Billikens should put themselves in a good position, not just with basketball, with the other sports as well. With soccer, just killing it on both the men's side, especially this season, but what the women have done in recent years as well. My hope, I wouldn't say my expectation, but I am definitely cautiously optimistic that we could see that at some point in the future.
One of the other big things from today's game for me, and I'm always talking about him, I'm always focusing in on him, but I really thought today was an impressive game from Amari McCautry. He tied his season high in assists with 5. He didn't turn the ball over very often, which was good, especially on a Billikens side that was turning the ball over. 5 assists to 2 turnovers for Amari McCautry. Didn't have to be a big scorer throughout the entire game, but nonetheless got to his spots. 3 of 4, hit the one shot he took, and went 6 for 6 from the charity stripe, including 6 rebounds as well. He was everywhere on defense. He's the versatile player they needed. And considering we've had a couple of uneven games from Amari, in fact, 3 straight games where he didn't hit double figures against New Hampshire, St. Joseph's, and VCU, I thought today was a monster afternoon from Amari.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. He played within himself. Are you worried about him falling in love with the 3-point shot now?
Yeah,
that one shot looked really good.
He made one and took one. We cannot criticize that because he never rose up for another one. We have to honestly laud that. In fact, after he made one, his very next drive, very next play down, pump faked, puts the ball on the floor, gets a foul called, and goes to the line to hit 2 the easy way. That's to the hard way. So, and that's like a microcosm of the decision making. He's making the right decisions, and that's huge.
Yeah, and it was another rhythm 3, and that's what it was at the end of the VCU game when he hit that monster shot. He's shooting it with confidence. He's not forcing it when he is taking them. So that was really good to see. I thought, Trey Green was in foul. We mentioned him talking about the NIL. This is another thing. You win this game easily, no problem. Where Trey Green, you get essentially nothing from him. You get 3 points. And a lot of that was due to his foul trouble with 3 fouls in the first half. Mm-hmm. But again, you go 9 deep, you got no holes in the boat, where if you got, a few guys that are not bringing it on a certain night, if you had said before the before the game that Deion Brown and Trey Green would combine for 5 points, you probably think this game would be a little sweatier than it was, and this game was not sweaty at all for the entire second half.
And it's lines up exactly to what we were saying after the VCU game, which is any other game this season, if Ishan and Robby combine for 8 total points, you're not having a good game. And yet there they were, sweaty at some points, but with a pretty solid win against VCU too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Ishan Sharma struggling from the field a little bit the last couple games, just 5 points for him today. A 1 of 5 from 3. I believe he missed all 3 of his 3-point shots against VCU as well. But again, you just got other guys that pick it up.
Yeah. About how solid the floor game was. His defense was good. Josh Schertz this week actually said that after Amari McCautry, Ishan Sharma is the most physical defender on this Billikens team as a wing. I'm sure if you asked him, he'd say that Otieno is a much more physical defender overall. But as a winger, it's Amari McCautry and then Ishan Sharma. That's not something anyone would have predicted looking at his tape from his previous stops. So for Sharma to continue to add that floor game, and again, it's just a defensive rebound today in a turnover. So nothing really to write home about, but being that big body, being a length out there on the floor, he doesn't have to be Amari McCautry, but if he can just be the next rung down, it's why the defense works so well in the first half. And we'll figure out why the defense struggled in the second half.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about it from a big picture perspective. I just thought it was notable that he's been cold the last couple of games. Shooting the ball, I do think some of his shots were a little bit forced where he was just not fully. You talk about how he needs to get those shoulders squared up. I think he's been, not getting the puppy set, as Bill Raftery would say all the time. I think that could be part of it, but I think it could just take one game. I mean, against St. Joe's, he lit it up 5 out of 8 from 3-point range just 3 games ago. I think all it's going to take is for one game to kind of get him back on track.
Let's talk about our good friends at DraftKings, where the crown is yours. You see that promo code right there, STL Sports. And guys, I know we're all talking about a little bit of basketball right now, but DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL, makes every playoff moment feel bigger. And right now, we are in the thick of it. Games are going to be flying this weekend when it comes to the NFL. I'm still... last time I talked about this, I was talking about how I'm feeling good about the Jaguars. I'm still feeling good about the Jaguars. I was feeling good about the Rams too. And the Panthers here with a surprising end to that first half, making this game close. But we talk about Packers and Bears tonight. Packers favored, giving up 2.5 points to the Bears. Telling you what, at home, a dog, the playoffs. Give me the Chicago Bears right now. If I'm getting points with the home team in Chicago, give me the Bears right now for this game going off at 7 p.m. tonight on Prime Video. DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half, you can still get paid in cash. So if you're like me and you like to play some small props, you want your quarterbacks to go plus 225, you want a receiver to go plus 40, a running back to go plus 50, you put all those together in a parlay. If that's something you like to do a lot, that's kind of my favorite thing to do during these NFL weeks, you're good with early exit protection. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports to turn $5 into $300 if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Just make sure you keep signing up with that promo code STL Sports.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or call ccbg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, call dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Few minutes left here because I'm going to try to catch the post game. Safari Elvis asks, here's a question. If the Billikens finish first in the A10 conference but lose in the conference tournament, will they get in the NCAA tournament still? A10 seems to only get one bid each year. That's only been a bad run of form for them for the last 3 years. The Billikens only lose 3 games in conference play, and essentially, so they have 4 losses on the season, and they lose in the conference tournament, they will still be a tournament team almost guaranteed. Once you start getting into 5 or 6 losses, then things we'll see how everyone else is doing. If it's one of those weak fields, if the SEC has like 9 teams again, they might get screwed out of it. But things hold form. They hold serve to what they should do now, what they're expected to do on all these games, they're a tournament team by hook or by crook.
Yep, I agree with that. Ken Pom currently projects them to go 27-4 overall and
absolutely,
15-3 in the A10. And a lot of this is going to be the games you lose. If you're going to lose, which hopefully you don't, but if you do, you want it to be against those other top 4-ish teams, usually
VCU, Dayton, George Mason. Those are the safe losses.
And George Washington as well.
George Washington, you're right. Yeah, but if it's Loyola or Fordham, then then maybe things do get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, I thought it was notable today. VCU lost at George Mason 86-80. You want VCU to stay in that top 75 of the net come hell or high water. They started the day at 55. So they're going to drop a little bit. George Washington's at 72. The Billikens get them at home. So that will not be a quad one game for SLU. But they go to George Mason the last game of the season, which, my God, there could be all kinds of things on the line for that potential conference championship. And that potentially could be a Q1 win as well. George Mason, 77 in the net. They're going to almost certainly bust into the top 75 after beating VCU today. So you really want George Mason to get in that top 75. Dayton is lurking at 89 in the net. That's another team. You want them to win a bunch of games so they can get in the top 75 because the Billikens get them twice. So obviously the road game at Dayton would be a quad one if Dayton gets to the top 75. So those are really the 5 main teams I'm watching. Obviously SLU, and then VCU, George Washington, George Mason, and Dayton. Everyone else is outside the top 100 in the net. The Fordham game next week, you obviously cannot lose that. Ken Pom projects that SLU to win that game by 19 points. Richmond could be a little tricky. Richmond's next up in the net at 107. Richmond's
them and Duquesne.
Duquesne are
always annoyingly weird.
Yes, those spiders, man, I'm telling you. But SLU's still projected to win that game by 13 at home. I think it's at the point like you obviously would love to cover these spreads, help yourself in the metrics. I think SLU's in a good enough spot. Just win, baby. Just win the games you're supposed to win. And if you're going to lose, 3 times at most to the top teams in the A10. I think that's probably the recipe.
Good point. Bills keep on rolling. They improved to 15-1. They take down LaSalle 84-72. That is Eric Sontag. I'm Matthew Rocchio, and this has been the Billikens Central Postgame presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and My Home Bank. You can check them out at myhomebank.bank. That is our banking partners right here on STL Sports Central. Again, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Check them out with promo code STL Sports. The Billikens roll on. They are back home with more games to win here in the A10 Conference. They're 3-0, they're 15-1 overall, and they are rolling on to a projected tournament spot. Can they continue? We'll have you updated right here on the Billikens Central Postgame after every Bills game. So we'll see you midweek for a home matchup for the Billikens, which means you'll see me sideline joined by our good friend Bob Ramsey once we are in progress. For Eric Sontag, again, I'm Matthew Rocchio. This has been the Billikens Central Postgame on STL Sports Central. Thank you to all the chatters. You guys make this stuff run. Please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. And we'll be back again with another postgame. If you want more basketball, you will have another postgame coming up a little bit later on today because the Missouri Tigers are in action right now, and I accidentally closed out of my scoreboard for the
They're up by
SEC.
3. They're up by 3 with 5 minutes to go in the first half.
Up by 3 right now with a couple minutes to go in the first half. Missouri and Ole Miss. You'll have the postgame right here on STL Sports Central. And thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day, St. Louis. Go Tigers in that game. We'll see if we can get another 2-0 day for the Billikens and the Tigers here on STL Sports Central. Talk to you guys later.